The way that Frank treated me after that instance and had the respect to actually hear me out as a human being is how I view it.
Since we're talking about learning and growing, I think this is a great opportunity for me to tell a story about how me and Jen became friends, and I hope she thinks of me as a friend. Jen is a political content creator. She's a politico, she's less than being a content creator. She focuses on Indigenous issues, and she has worked in politics before. And me and Jen had gotten into disagreements in the past, and we are not as politically far apart as a lot of people think, but we have disagreements, right? And I think that caused some online animosity that we didn't necessarily understand how to navigate. And what ended up happening was me and another creator who focuses a lot on yarn were very upset with Jen, and we were talking, and this creator was obsessed with finding out something about Jen because of something to do with a plane flight with the Conservatives. It's not here or there, but what ended up happening was, after looking at a bunch of Jen's videos, I came to the understanding that there was something else going on, and that the disagreements that we were having, me and Jen, we were both coming from a place of shared childhood trauma. There were things that we were, everyone's broken, right? We all got things that bug us. And I was telling this other creator, I'm like, hey, I think that I understand Jen, because I started by scrolling on her page. I started by looking at some of her videos, and I started by learning about how Jen was raised by her grandparents, and the more that I watched, the more I started to understand Jen. And I reached out to her, and we buried the hatchet. We chatted a lot, we shared, and I think that we became friends. I would like to consider her a friend. And I went back to this other creator, and I basically said, hey, water under the bridge, Jen is willing to forgive and forget everything. Do you guys want to chat? And that other creator, the yarn creator, said no, refused, and then said, I'm done dealing with this, I'm not talking about this anymore, it's over. Within an hour of that message saying, we're not going to talk about this anymore, I'm done, I'm going to let it pass, she kept trying to find ways to get at Jen. And I think the most fundamental thing that I learned from this whole interaction was that when I allowed my barriers to be let down, and I started to look at Jennifer as a person, not just a content creator, not just part of this machinery online, I was able to see the humanity in other people. And it's that I think when we're making content, when we're viewing content, consuming content, and we're so caught up in our own beliefs, especially when it comes to a political ideology, and we were so staunchly, firmly believing something, we tend to other, and we tend to make enemies out of other people. But it's so easy to bridge a lot of these gaps. There were a lot of people who disagreed with me over the last few weeks from both sides of the political spectrum. People reaching out to me saying, hey, are you all right? Helping me learn, helping me grow. Some people just doing wellness checks, checking in on me, and that's all appreciated, right? That's awesome. That's community. Even when you don't agree with somebody politically, the fact that people can understand that we are all human, that's huge. And I've tried to be like that for other people, and I tried to do that for this yarn creator, and I did multiple checks and be like, hey, are you all right with this thing? Because it was pretty stressful for everybody involved, and multiple times I said, hey, you okay? And even after this incident, I still tried to connect that creator with the NDP, right? Because I know that they are a pretty big NDP supporter, and so I connected them with Jagmeet Singh. I connected them with some other creators who had asked to be connected. So I didn't realize that there was any animosity, but this creator blames me for them getting a cease and desist letter for harassing Jennifer Elle. That's not okay. At the end of the day, the most important learning that we can do from this is to understand that each and every one of us is human. We can all make mistakes, and we choose when we want to be generous with our time and with our emotions and who we want to open up to. But when we put up those barriers and we say, no, I refuse to talk to this other person, when we are the ones who continue to attack, when we continue to go out there and create problems, that's when we are creating barriers to success and happiness. And I found that when working with somebody like Jen or other people across the political spectrum who I disagree with or who take issue with me, when the barriers come down and we start to look at each other as human and we start to listen and we start to communicate, that is when the most amount of learning and healing and positive relationships are formed. And so that's just what we should be focusing on.